All right. Hey, everybody, we are live. I'm Cece Underwood. I'm the owner of the Selling with Cece team. We're going to be going over the market. So we're going to be talking all things about real estate. Obviously, if you have a question you want to put in the chat, feel free to put it in the chat. It could be a general real estate question, or it could be related to what we go over in the market. So I am going to go over the March 2026. We did put a video out about it yesterday, but if you have any specific questions regarding your area, we are in Northeast Florida. I do invite you guys to follow us on Instagram. We are at Selling with CC on Instagram and Facebook. So if you are there, feel free to follow us. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we're going to talk. Let's go through see if I'm going to share my screen here. So of course, this is what we went over in the video. So I want to show it here again. Obviously, this is the market summary. Let's go through. And here you can see this. Let's make sure we are on for read. Oh, here we go. This is what we did yesterday. This is what I did yesterday. So here's our residential for just this area. It may or may not change a little bit. So here we go. We're going to get this updated. So again, our number of listings, this is for Northeast Florida for our real MLS. So this is kind of the local Northeast Florida MLS. If you don't know, in Florida, there are multiple MLSs, like multiple MLSs. And I think that's important to know that if you are a seller or if you're a homeowner and you're thinking of selling your home, you want to make sure that the agent you hire is in the MLS where your home resides. So oftentimes we will see homes and they're listed on Zillow, but let's say the house is in Jacksonville, but they've hired an agent in Orlando, and the agent in Orlando is, putting the home in their local MLS and did not put the home in the Jacksonville MLS. So this is extremely important, and a reason why, even though you may know a realtor in another area, we do not have a statewide MLS. It would make things easier, but we don't have a statewide MLS. So you want to make sure that they are in your local MLS. And as you can see here, if I wanted to customize this, we do data share. So there's Daytona, Hernando, Space Coast, St. Augustine, and St. Johns County. Our team, Selling with CC team, is a member of both the Northeast Florida MLS and the St. John's MLS. So if you're a seller and you're in St. Johns County, especially if you're in the middle to southern St. Augustine area, you definitely want someone who's a member of the St. John's MLS, but also Northeast Florida, because we are the larger MLS and we've got a larger reach and we have a larger number of real estate agents, and that is important. So Northeast Florida has about 12,000 real estate agents. And so just having that reach, not only for the internet, but for the local agent market, is very important for a home seller. All right, so we're going to go ahead. Let's continue to get into this. So our current number of listings, this is the active number of listings in Northeast Florida. So this runs from a span of 12 months. So here you have April of 2025. The total number of listings for sale was just over 12,000, compared to March ending 2026, there was 9,900. So you've got a little bit of a difference here, but as you can see, I really like to talk about the active number of listings, because this does have this is a huge conversation with the media, with news outlets. They are many times saying, oh, inventory is so high. Well, compared to the sold listings, yes. So we have 9,900 active listings for sale in the month of March, and yet only 2,400 sold. But there's a lot of reasons, right? There's a lot of homes for sale compared to the people buying homes. So if you're a homeowner This is very, very, very important for you to understand. This also correlates with listing prices. As a homeowner, you can list your home for any number you want. However, this is why talking with an agent and understanding the market matters. If you are going to take the time to list your home and you're going to get it ready for sale and you're going to do all these things, selling a home is one of the most stressful things you can do. There's a lot of money involved. You have to keep your home clean. If you have multiple kids, you understand how difficult it is to keep your house clean. I mean, you don't even need to have a couple of kids to understand this concept, because we're busy and life shows up. So having all the dishes washed and put away and laundry, like, it is very difficult. And so to do that every single day and not have a true motivation to sell can be very stressful and difficult. So whenever we're getting in, you have a lot of competition. So if you're going to do that, I would say if you're looking to sell your home, make sure that you truly do have a motivation, for selling, to go through all of this, because you could actually be on the market. You don't know if you're going to be on the market for a week, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or 90 days or longer. So we're going to continue to talk about how that would affect you as someone who wants to sell. But here we go. So total number 9,900 active listings. In that same month, okay, there were 3,600 new listings. So this pink line represents every month the number of new listings coming to market. Now, I will say, so there's less, obviously, most people do not list their homes in December. So this is the lowest. There's only 2,000 homeowners that put their home up for sale. And here we go. Here is 3,500. And this was in January. So people are starting to put their house on the market in the new year, which is fairly common. And then we're seeing another uptick here in March. Again, it is another uptick here in Florida. There really isn't a bad time to list your home. Like, if we have lower months, there are less sales in January, less sales in August, September, only due to people just getting off of December. They're coming off of holidays. They don't have a lot of money. So there are less buyer sales in January and less buyer sales in August and September, because that's the time where the kids go back to school. So strategically, if you were going to put your house on the market, maybe you would not put your house on the market in January and August. You would wait till different months. And so, but typically most people think it's the start of the spring market as March. And you can kind of see that uptick here, that we have 3,600 new listings in March. So let's move along from that. And again, if you have any questions that you want to put in the chat or in the comments later, feel free. We will be watching. We'll respond to your comments. Let's go through here and let's look at our listing prices. So the blue line is our active median price. You can see a year ago, the median list price was $369. And here we go, here is $366. So real estate, look, there's all of this going on from a year ago, that the list price is going up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up. Guys, this right here, and even comparatively to our sold median price, last year the sold median price was $354. Here we go, here it's $359. You're talking $354 to $359, $5,000 difference. So when you're hearing the outside, when you're hearing the media and you're hearing people say, oh, prices are doing this, oh, the inventory is doing this, understand, take that with a grain of salt, because it may not be. Real estate is hyperlocal. I will say this over and over and over again. Real estate is not about the market of Jacksonville or St. Johns County or Northeast Florida. Your true real estate market is going to be your home in your specific neighborhood. And then there will be some comparisons around. However, you really need to look at this data like this. Here we go. This is the real data. And we can actually get this so like hyper local, to give you a better perspective on what the market of your neighborhood is doing. And this should come into play if you're thinking of listing your home, because it's not about the mass averages. It is truly about your area. And we've seen in some areas where The average is 30 days or less to sell. We've also seen the complete opposite in some neighborhoods. The average it takes is 140 days. And we'll talk about that with the days on market. But here we go is March here, 359 is our average, our median sales price. But as I pointed out in the video, a kind of interesting correlation. We talk about list price does not equal sales price. And while this is averages, okay, this is just averages, it is interesting. You can take a lot from the graph here where it's up. The higher the median list price was a lower median sales price. Okay, here again, we see an uptick here. So just because the list price goes up does not mean the sales price goes up. And actually, very few instances was that actually true in this graph. And here, I think because they were closer together, if you notice, because they're closer together, they actually do have a trending upward. So you want to close this gap. If you're looking at the average sales price in your area, and this would be true for in your neighborhood, if you're looking at the average sales price and you're coming up with a marketing starting list price for your home, you don't want to overprice it. And it is because of graphs like this. It is because when you start high, the higher you start, the less you're going to sell because you increase your days on market, you reduce the number of eyes on your home because now your home is being compared to a home like yours that is listed for less. They're not even like, they're not going to spend time on your home because already just by looking at it, they can tell they get more for the same money somewhere else. So keep this in mind. Your first showing is online. That is your first showing. That is your first online view. And if you can't get them from online to in your home, you've already significantly reduced the number of buyers that you are appealing to. And that is the very first goal, is to create that strategic marketing plan with pricing, condition, and marketing all together. They all work together to position your home to get the most eyes and the most showings inside your home, because that's what's going to matter. All right, so now let's go to the absorption rate. We talked about absorption rate. It can be a little confusing, but here the active inventory and compared to the number of sales, this is where this all comes into play. So a year ago, we had about a little over 5 months supply of inventory. Here we go, January of last year, it was again over 5 months. So it was 5.3 months supply of inventory. Again, I hear on the news, on the internet, I see this on social media, they're talking about inventory. They're just talking about the rising days on market. And it's just like, oh, it's so bad. Okay, it's not bad. It's different than what you might be used to. I grew up selling real estate in the crash. So our average days on market was like 365 days. It literally would take an average of 6 to 12 months to get a home sold. And so those were obviously very, very different times and nothing like what's going on right now. However, when you keep that in a perspective, this is kind of a stagnant, stale market. We were kind of going into that buyer's market last year, but look at this trend. The listing, when the inventory goes down and the homes start to sell, your absorption rate goes down. So the reality is absorption rate is when you take the total number. So let's say March, 9,900 homes for sale. If no new homes came to market, the average time it would take to sell all of those homes, given the current number of buyers in the market, would be 4 months. 4 months to get rid of 9,900 homes, okay? That's what it tells us. So take a look at this. It's been going down, going down, going down. That means that this has an effect on our days on market. It has an effect on everything. So here we go. We're right at 4. And statistically, under 3 months is a seller's market. So 4 to 5 months is, it is statistically a stable market, though it definitely felt like a buyer's market. Last January, it really, really felt like a buyer's market. Homes were sitting longer, but there's always a shift and there's always about a year lag. So whenever we're transitioning from a seller's market to a buyer's market, there's always a lag because the buyers feel it first. And that means the sellers, they take a lot more time to adjust to what the buyers want. They're kind of not in reality that the market has shifted. And so that happened about 2023. 2024, obviously interest rates have a huge impact on this. But as sellers have taken their home off the market, it has reduced inventory, which has allowed that gap between the number of sellers and the number of buyers to lessen. As that gap closes and gets closer together, now this is what we see. We see that the homes can sell, the absorption rate goes down, and this is very, very healthy. So it is what we like to see. We're going into the spring market. So obviously this is why you see this number going upwards. You saw it here, the listing prices, the number of active listings are going up, new listings are going up. So you would expect that this absorption rate would increase to be in line with that, given we're not in a seller's market. Our list to sales price ratio. So a year ago, we were at 94%, and currently we are at 94%. However, look what happened all in between. This is whenever we say like, it's hard, like you don't time the market. The way you make money in real estate is not timing the market, it's time in the market. Because if you purchased a home in April of 2025, and then you tried to sell it in October, right? You thought maybe you would make a quick return on your money, something happened. This is why you would lose money. This is exactly why real estate wasn't meant to be a flipping business. Investors, they buy properties low, they improve it, and they sell high. But most homeowners, that's not what they do. They purchase a home, they make a down payment, they live in the home, and they allow the market to do its job. Well, a healthy market is maybe 3 to 4% increase a year. So it makes sense. That's why if you buy a home one year and try to sell the next, why you're not making any money, because of the cost to sell. And this right here, the list to sales price ratio. I talked about this in the video, why it is so important to hire an agent that has a high list to sales price ratio. I think we all know not all real estate agents are created equal. There are agents that take a listing, any listing. They don't give advice to the seller. They don't give staging advice. They're not giving marketing advice. They don't actually spend money on marketing. There's not a marketing plan. So that agent that may take a listing at a lower compensation may not have the resources, knowledge, and experience and negotiation skills to actually do what it takes to communicate how to make the most money. And this is why it's the law of averages, right? You have those that do it very well, those that don't do it all, and then you've got those in the middle. So the law of averages in Northeast Florida for our list to sales price ratio is 94%. The average seller is only getting 94% of their list price. So when you're interviewing real estate agents, it's really important that one of those questions be, what is your average list to sales price ratio? And taking land out, because land can skew a lot of these numbers. But for single family homes, how much are you making your sellers on average? And if they're getting a higher amount, that means they've priced it properly, right? All things were true. The price was good to attract, the marketing matched that price, attracted more eyes, more views online. They were able to get more showings and better offers. They created competition. They created urgency. And I do hear a lot of sellers saying, oh, the buyers aren't, there's no urgency with buyers. They're not motivated. They are. We work with buyers every single day. And I can tell you the reasons why they're not buying is because when they walk in the home, their instant response is, they want this for the house? What are you talking about? It is literally their response. They're looking at the home that has not been maintained. It hasn't been updated. It's dirty or it smells, and they're asking a very high price. So of course, all this looks good online, and maybe it was enough to get them in, but then they came in the home and they go, it's not worth it. And so the home sits longer. And then of course, eventually the sellers are having to reduce. You're on the market for 4 months. You've spent time, you're stressed out because trying to keep your home clean for 4 months, and nobody wants to do that. The goal is to get your home sold and to get it sold quickly. And when you put your home on the market, the first 2 weeks are the most important. The first 2 weeks are when the existing buyers come to your house. These buyers have not found the home yet. So it is your biggest opportunity. And anyone who thinks that if your home goes under contract quickly, that you gave it away, it's not. If you literally can't give your home away. These buyers are so picky. They want clean, they want updated, they want upgraded, they want pretty, they want great views, they want everything if they're going to pay the very top of the market. And they're willing to if they're able to get something in return for that money. So if your home goes under contract quickly, it's because you had great communication, you staged your home great, you made it look good, you made it look clean, you had a pre-listing inspection, you made the repairs, you made it easy for the buyer to make a decision. And the reality is homes that aren't ready actually give objections to the buyer and give them reasons to not make an offer. You're giving them reasons to wait. So we want to create urgency. We want to price it right, get a good condition, and have a great marketing plan. Here, average days on market. A year ago, we were at 72. At our peak was at January at 91 was our average days on market. And here in March of 2026 was 87. Again, this is all of Northeast Florida, and there's a lot of factors that go into this. This was only single family. This is not condos. It was not land, only single family homes. The average was 87 days. So let's break this down. If the average, let's take your neighborhood. Let's say you wanted to sell a home in Nocatee, and your area, the average was, it was 90 days to get a home sold, but you wanted to sell your home in 30. Well, then you wouldn't be able to price your home at the average list price and the average sales price in the neighborhood because the average took 90 days. You would actually need to improve your price maybe by 3 to 5% in order to sell in 30 days. So timing does have a factor on your price, and price has a factor on your timing. If you were to list above the average sales price for your home for that market value, that means if the average took 90 days and you were above the market, now your home is going to take 4, 5, 6 months to sell, or not at all. It's going to come off the market, and you're going to be very upset with your agent and go, why didn't my home sell? And they probably were telling you along the way to reduce your price. Pricing is everything. Pricing is not going to give away a house. I've spent so many times with buyers, and my team has spent so many times with buyers. We've gone into homes and they've dropped the price, right? They've had a $20,000 price reduction. Price per square foot, it seems to be in line. However, there's something about the home. It's giving the buyers an icky feeling, or it smells, or it's backing up to another house. They feel uncomfortable. And that right there is a reason why that home is not selling. So you need a great, honest, direct agent to be able to tell you these things. What are these future objections that might become reasons your home doesn't sell? And having someone who's honest with you, you may not like what they say, but those are the realtors that care the most, the ones that care enough to tell you the things, to tell you that your home smells, to tell you that it smells like a dog, or it smells like urine, or there's too strong smells, there's food, you've got too many plugins going on. This is the reality. This is the agent you said you wanted, but you didn't like what they said, but they were the honest ones. They're the ones that cared the most to tell you the reality of the market and cared enough to tell you what really needs to happen to get your home sold quickly in a market like this. And they had a written plan to show you, here's what we do and here's why it works. So if you are in this situation and maybe you're frustrated or you're thinking of selling your home, our team would love an opportunity to come and meet with you and discuss and ask you great questions about what are the reasons you're looking to move? Do you need to sell before you buy? How can we make this an easy transition for you? How do we make this happen? And what does it really look like to get a home sold in your area, in your neighborhood, in this market, when buyers are tough, when they are picky, when they are asking a lot? How do we present your home to be the best and create urgency? If you are looking for an agent like this, or you just want to have a free estimate to know what your home is worth, reach out to our team. We have a ton of free guides. If you go out to our standout store /selling with CC, we have tons of resources for buyers and sellers and great list of questions to ask. If you're looking to interview a listing agent, feel free to reach out to our team, give us a follow for Selling with CC, or you can email me directly. My email is cc@sellingwithcc.com.